Welcome to the One Bloody Take movie podcast, where we go back in time several decades to browse the aisles of your local video store. I'm Paul.
And I'm Russ.
And today we're renting the 1988 movie Doom Asylum. So get your popcorn and snow caps ready while we give you our bloody take. All right, so this week we watched Doom Asylum. We'll start out with the trailer and the poster. I don't believe that the trailer that we watched could have possibly been on TV at the time that this movie came out. But the trailer that we watched would definitely have me interested in the movie if I hadn't already watched it. It was extremely brief and to the point and showed you what you're in for, which is just a long string of gory scenes. And they appeared to be done, for the time fairly well. So I'd be in on that. The poster to me is a little iffy, way iffier than the trailer, but it wouldn't turn me away if I was already looking for the movie.
Right. And like I said, with the trailer, I felt like it was a lot more fast paced than the movie was.
Oh, yeah.
But is that the actual trailer or something somebody just made afterwards?
That's also a fair point.
Because it also doesn't, it was like 30 some seconds long. Most trailers are at least a minute and a half, 3 minutes long.
We didn't get a rating. We didn't get an in the world or anything like that.
You got nothing. So this might just be more of fans paying their respects and making one. The cover art, I think, suffers from the same thing. One of the things the movie suffered from as well is they didn't know what the building was. I'm looking at this and I feel like it's a hotel, especially like with the neon lights at the top that says Doom Asylum.
Right.
We got this goofy looking guy sitting at the top. I don't quite know what he is based on this.
And it's got that little bit of architecture at the top of the roof.
Yes. But 14-year-old me going into a video store, picking this up and seeing Penthouse Pet of the Month and Playboy Centerfold, I'm taking it home. Yeah,
little did we know that you would be immediately dispatched.
Yeah.
So for the most part, we have the movie is directed by Richard Friedman, who also did Phantom of the Mall. So,
and I did get a little bit of vibes from that. I just felt like with how they chose to play some of the music, not that it matched it necessarily, but I kind of felt like it was just this guy like hiding in the rafters, waiting. But instead it's just like his little room that he created for himself.
Yeah. I mean, I can see the similarities, but also I don't believe I cared for either movie, so I can see the similarity in that way as well.
Yes.
There's not much to speak of as far as stars in this movie, with the exception of Kristen Davis. I don't know how she managed to survive out of this to become a mainstream actress. No one else really did, and that's fine. That's exactly what should have happened with this movie.
Darnell was the only one that really had multiple acting credits to his name. I forget how many, but I think it was like 50 some.
Yeah, he's still around now.
Honestly, I think he was the best actual actor in the movie. And that's not saying much.
Wildly low bar, but I could see that. Yeah.
I just didn't feel like he was reading. There were times where Kristen Davis was talking like this as she was trying to remember her words.
Which is exactly the character that she played in Sex and the City too. She was the weakest of the four of them because she always just seemed to be like not present.
I can say this with 100% honesty. I have never seen an episode, and it's not just a thing where I'm like, oh, I've never watched that show. I know of it. I know things that happen in it, but I've never ever seen a full episode. Kristen Davis is also one of the many girlfriends of Jerry Seinfeld.
Yes.
On the show.
Yeah.
She was the one that put his toilet brush in the toilet after her toothbrush fell in. The Judy, the girl that dies at the beginning.
Okay.
We got a clumps thing going on here. She has more than one role in this movie. She is also Kiki.
Is she?
Yes, she is.
I mean, I believe you, but I did not realize that.
Well, here's the thing. I was extremely annoyed by Judy. Just listening to her talk, was just like, this is a terrible character. Then I was getting very annoyed by Kiki. And I'm like, wait a second, they look similar. Of course, they're the
as,
same person.
as it turns out.
So she was not equipped to have one role in this movie, yet she landed two, although one was very brief. Here's the thing though. She's Frankenhooker. So in that, she does an amazing job. And that's we're talking about maybe about a 2-year difference here. So I don't know whether they were all directed to be as bad as they possibly can, or she just got better. Because in Frankenhooker, I think great job, great movie, zero actual complaints. This movie, little different. She's also the 1987 Pet House Pet of the Month, as it says on the cover. And this movie then also suffers from the same thing as Shock 'Em Dead, when you put Tracy Lords on the cover, and then you're advertising that you not only have a Penthouse Pet of the Month, but also a Playboy centerfold, and the nudity in this movie is like 3 seconds long. You're advertising something that is only going to let some of your audience down that might be expecting that back when this movie came out and they either went to rent it or saw it on cable.
I mean, but I think that's a solid, it's rude. I understand what you're saying there, but it's a solid move to draw some extra people in.
Oh yeah, you have to do it 100%.
Because I don't know another selling point for this movie, to be perfectly honest with you. I can tell you that the effects are pretty good in this. The special effects are good. But you can't advertise that. You can't advertise great horror effects, so check out our movie. Although it would be the most honest way to present this movie. You're not going to talk about the script. You're not going to talk about the acting. So the best you got is, we got a Penthouse Pet, and then the rudest thing that they do, no breasts. We didn't get to see her breasts.
Well, not hers, but we do get to see Tina, played by Ruth Collins. She's the Playboy centerfold. They could have equally had me invested by saying she was in the Beastie Boys video "No Sleep Till Brooklyn."
Right.
And okay, yeah, I'll watch it. In the credits in IMDb, we do have a stand-in. I'm gonna brutally mispronounce his name, so I apologize in advance. Paul Giorgi.
Yeah.
Okay. Listed as fake Shemp. So we have another fake Shemp situation.
That's a Sam Raimi thing.
Yes.
That was always a Sam Raimi thing. That's when I saw that, I started trying to find connections to Sam, and I really didn't come up with any as far as like the actual people involved. But that's a Sam Raimi thing, going all the way back to the first Evil Dead.
As well. In the movie Intruder that we watched, there was people credited as fake Shemp as well.
And it's just it's a reference to Three Stooges, when they actually had a fake Shemp who would stand in for some of the more violent scenes when Shemp was getting older and couldn't handle it anymore.
I love how just like certain things survive. Yeah.
So what we have here is a movie about a group of teenagers who are one by one killed by a disfigured killer when they trespass into an old shut down asylum, which is clearly not shut down because nobody has any issue accessing electricity in this building whatsoever.
Yes. Electricity, water, whatever. And the gates are wide open. There's a sign saying like, please don't come in.
Right.
But this place should have, at least 10-foot tall gates with barbed wire at the top, locked chains, all kinds of things. Probably even a security guard, you would imagine, would be on the premises.
If they wanted people out that badly, it would at least be like fully gated up. Yeah.
Yeah. Or at least, a building manager or somebody that's responsible for at least some upkeep or having to check in on the property to make sure there's no issues.
So as we talk about this movie, I think the beauty of it is that there's not really much of an explanation for anything. There's not really much of a plot in any meaningful way. And the only thing that even makes sense about the movie and what we're watching doesn't really happen until I don't know, 5 minutes left in the movie. So we might as well just talk about the highlight of this movie, which is the very well produced gore. So we start the movie out with a terrible rendition of House of the Rising Sun by the Animals. I don't know who was doing that cover, but they should be fired from whatever job they have. And we have, in classic 80s style, two people in a car drinking with no problem showing it off, and then, being distracted and getting into an accident, which leads to the death of the woman and at the time, we think the death of the driver as well. And
yes.
We do see very nicely in this particular scene that our woman in the car loses her hand. And so her hand is just kind of sitting there, which I thought that was good fun. It set the tone for what we're going to see here. I just enjoy in these 80s movies where we are driving and we don't particularly care about safety in any meaningful way whatsoever.
Not even looking at the road for an extended period of time as well.
No.
One important thing, though, Judy is looking into a handheld mirror before they start making out. So there is a mirror that she brought with her that is going to be part of the story going forward. And like you said, too, with House of the Rising Sun, same thing with Shock 'Em Dead. We start out with a terrible version of Purple Haze. So the very first thing that you're doing to us in this movie is disappointment. You're just disappointing us by taking something good and making it bad. But like you said, with the hand, that also sets the tone that we're not going to take ourselves too seriously in this movie.
Right.
Had this movie tried to take themselves seriously, it'd be a completely different movie, and I think it might be borderline unwatchable. If that was the course they took.
And at least at Shock 'Em Dead, it was actually bad on purpose. It was part of the plot for it to be bad. These people are essentially, as far as we're concerned, just listening to the radio, and there's no meaningful tie-in from the music to the plot. So they could have just had a decent song, and they refused. In fact, they took a really good song and just subtracted it to its worst possible form.
And I would have to imagine that was a large percentage of their budget.
They have to have licensed that, right? Like, there's no way. Oh, I mean, I guess technically, they can do it without licensing it if they claim that it's parody, which this was bad enough to make that claim, perhaps.
That is a fantastic argument. No, Your Honor, you have to understand, we made this so terribly that no one could take us seriously. Yeah, no, so yeah, that works.
You guys listen to this and try not to laugh.
Yeah.
So the movie's actually written by Rich Marks, who is not Richard Marks, and I was disappointed to learn that as well.
It was. That would have been nice.
So we get our accident. The only other thing that we learn at the beginning is that the two of them, Judy and Mitch, are rich now. They're $5 million richer than they were earlier that month because Mitch was a good lawyer and had Judy sue someone. And
here's the thing. I can't tell whether this is good or bad. They're not wasting a bunch of time on exposition.
No.
But what they are doing is giving us a line here and there that when we put it all together makes sense. So we have Mitch say, open and shut case. He earned the money. You sued him for it. That on its own has very little meaning. We don't understand how, who'd she sue? Why'd they sue them? How'd they get the money? Any of that. During the next scene in the morgue, they go, oh, this is Mitch, I forget his last name, the Palimony attorney. So now we know that Judy had a fake marriage, divorced, sued, got, that's her settlement, whatever it is, and she gets $5 million. So they're basically scam artists.
Right.
The other thing is Judy mentions that they're going to leave their brat kid behind and send her off to boarding school while they go off to, I think it was Palm Springs or Key West,
Something like that.
somewhere in Florida. Yeah. So that's the information that we need to come away with. This, there's a mirror. She's rich. They have a kid, or Judy has a kid, and the plan was to leave the kid behind.
And Judy is comfortable dying knowing that she will love Mitch forever. So,
yes,
you know, we have a touching little moment there.
Yeah.
So
as she sits with her hand buried in the ground, surrounded by grass.
Right.
So we can't see it's still attached.
And buried far enough by grass, apparently, that it can last for 10 years sitting there just in that one spot. So obviously the accident happens. We go and collect the bodies. We bring them to the morgue like any normal, you know, incident like this that might happen. And now we're in the morgue and we're doing an autopsy on Mitch, which I don't know why we had to do an autopsy. We know why he died. We do.
Yes.
We know exactly what happened. But we do our autopsy, and now the Emmy, the coroner, wants to scoop out his brains. And I don't quite know why, but whatever.
No,
I don't know what the practices were back in the early 80s.
I looked at, I was like, I knew the answer, but sometimes when someone presents something to me that's so obviously wrong, but they say it so confident, before I go on record and say, no, that's wrong, I want to make sure I'm right. That's a rare thing in today's world. However, I still want to do it. You don't remove someone's brain. You just, because I was even thinking, well, you know, if you're getting embalmed,
no,
and, you know, like, is there a reason that could happen? No, you're not going to scoop somebody's brains out.
Unless it was your intention to study it. It stays pretty much where it was.
If it's like a CTE situation, yes, right, then we're gonna learn from it. We're not gonna learn why this guy got into a car accident any more than we already know by looking at the scene of the accident.
Right.
The other weird things that happen here is the coroner has a stethoscope. What the fuck is he listening for? And
in all fairness, this was his one opportunity to use the stethoscope successfully, and he didn't.
And he's wearing sunglasses on top of it.
Well, you know, future so bright.
Eating food, no gloves. Now, the coroner eating food, maybe at some point in time it didn't feel overdone. I can't come to a lot of references off the top of my head, but I know Night of the Comet, that coroner was eating everywhere. Yeah. Then even if we go a little more modern, iZombie, I don't know if you've ever watched any episodes of that show, but the coroner is just eating the bodies. So, you know, it's a little play on that, but I know I've watched so many other movies where that's just what the coroner does, and I get it, because the whole thing is there to make us uncomfortable. You know, you typically don't want to associate food with death. So, but this guy's so comfortable doing this. Now, my question to you is, how much cocaine did this guy do? There's all of it.
All of it, yeah.
Yes. The doctor that actually delivered me was later arrested for cocaine possession. So I don't know if that's anything telling about me personally, but you know, it's something that did happen in the 70s and 80s.
Maybe they're related.
Yeah.
The doctors are very casual. They are coroners, obviously. So, but yeah, the eating. I think the eating. I don't know that. I know that it's supposed to be shocking. Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
But I think it's also supposed to sort of give you the impression that this is these people's job, so they don't find anything like. There's nothing conflicting about having your sandwich around dead bodies. Right. I know we saw something kind of similar in Night of the Creeps when they go to the first body. Somebody pulled a sandwich out of their briefcase and just started eating it at the scene of the crime. And then in Gone in 60 Seconds, one of the guys, Sphinx, is a coroner, and when he gets called on the phone, he just takes his sandwich and puts it down on top of the body to answer the phone. So yeah, it shows up all the time.
Yeah,
as a little
that's actually a bit more of a play on it, where now we're taking it in a whole nother direction.
Yeah.
As far as like weirdness would be concerned for the average person. And yes, I agree with you. It's just to tell us, like, this is their life. This is what they do.
Right.
It's no different than me sitting at a cubicle, having a sandwich while I'm typing into a spreadsheet. It's the same thing. It's just their job.
Yeah. So the first interesting thing before we actually get to the reason we're seeing this scene is that somehow from the time of the car accident to the time that he makes it to the morgue, our driver, whose name just escaped me for some reason, our driver has developed what I will call Leatherface face.
Yes.
He suddenly Mitch suddenly has an entire other mask over his face. And there's no real explanation for that. He wasn't that banged up at the accident scene, and he couldn't have swollen up, because if he had swollen up, the doctors would have realized he's not dead. So instead, just an entire another layer of flesh developed over his flesh.
And his hands were really weird looking.
Yeah.
I did see it looked like he got impaled on the side of his arm, but it was his upper arm.
Right.
But none of this makes sense. So, and like you said, the gore in this movie was decent.
Yeah.
Or the special effects. However, his mask was not.
No.
I thought his mask looked like he just, bought it at a Halloween store. I know they didn't have Spirit Halloween back then. I had Halloween headquarters. You probably had the same thing. It just looked like a rubber mask that somebody bought. When you look into a mask and you can clearly see the flesh behind the eyes, that's what it looked like. It looked like there was a clear layer. So even if he is deformed, his eyes shouldn't be sunken the way they are. We really could have just done without this. Just have him cover his face in some way. If you don't have the ability to go all out,
sure,
maybe he covers part of his face and the rest is deformed. But the mask really took me out of a lot of this, as far as trying to take him seriously as a killer.
Yeah, he wound up looking like a really fat guy who suddenly lost a ton of weight all at once.
Yeah.
And that's what his face looked like. And I say that as someone who had that happen to them once, and I can tell you that this is what it looks like. So they're getting ready to scoop his brains out for whatever reason. The coroners have decided to do this. We've already kind of stabbed him in the head, too, to sort of, I don't know what they were trying to do, but they did that. And the junior coroner notices that Mitch has moved, points it out to the other coroner, and the other coroner writes it off as sort of rigor mortis setting in and sort of reactionary atrophy, which is a thing, which I've seen before, which is kind of weird and cool to see, but I've seen it before with squid. You can kill a squid and then take the tentacle, and then within a certain window of time, if you pour soy sauce over it, it just starts moving again for a little bit. And it's weird, but it's cool, but it's a thing. So that explanation in and of itself is understandable.
Right.
But then Mitch starts to sit up. So we can't really have that anymore. And Mitch stabs both of the coroners and kills them. Now, this is, again, one of those situations. I know it's a horror movie and I'm supposed to write these sort of things off, but it comes up a couple other times in this movie. The first guy gets stabbed. The second guy should be ready for it. Like, they weren't in such close quarters or in such a shocking maneuver that once the first guy gets stabbed, the second guy should have been ready for it, and he was not. He absolutely was not.
He wasn't. He just backed himself into a corner.
Yeah. So that's our first two kills. That's our first three kills, technically, right? Because Judy's dead, and then our two coroners are dead. And so far as kills are concerned, the movie's setting a good line for itself and a decent pacing for itself.
It doesn't waste a lot of time. We get right into it.
It doesn't explain. There's no reason for him to be alive. We don't even get like a wacky, they accidentally laid him on a wet cart that touched electricity. Like, there's no conceit to why this guy survived, and was fully functional after he survived.
And one thing I did want to ask you at this point, what is his motivation?
Nothing. He's got zero motivation.
Yes.
He's got zero motivation for the entire movie.
Right.
There's now going to be a 10-year gap, right, between this happening and the next thing that we pick up on. And there's now been urban legend about this guy. But even in the urban legend, they don't mention any motivation for why this guy is doing what he does. And
Right.
and that's what I was saying at the beginning. There's something that happens at the end of the movie that almost hints at why he may have been doing this. And then they even kind of just like gloss over that too. So this movie at every turn lacks explanation. I know there's no the story doesn't pan out. That was one of the different word, but the story doesn't pan out anywhere. Exposition. There's no exposition anywhere.
No.
But there's also no explanation anywhere.
Right.
The only thing we got a true explanation of is why he may have access to a lot of money. And that's about it. We don't know why he is the way he is. We don't know why he was angry when he woke up. We don't know anything.
Now, I could see him being upset that he learned, Judy is dead, or he
Sure.
remembers that Judy is dead.
Absolutely.
But then you just don't kill the first two people you see who had nothing to do with her dying.
Well, right. That's the thing. Like, their deaths were completely self-inflicted. Like, it's not even like someone else, it's not a John Wick scenario where he's out to get revenge. It's nothing like that at all. They were drunk driving and almost ran into a truck on the other side of the road. So there's no motivation for him to be a serial killer for 10 years.
And the other thing, when we get our opening credits, they say, and I forget the actor's name, but as the coroner. And then I'm like, oh, wait, why? So is the coroner, like, I had to then check. I was like, is the coroner that we just watched, is he like somebody big and I just don't recognize him because they saved it to the end? And I was like, no, wait, this guy is Mitch.
Right.
Mitch isn't the coroner.
Right.
So I feel like they're trying to give him a name here, but then it doesn't really stick. And there is some explanation like, oh, this guy kills everyone with autopsy tools. Okay, except he doesn't always.
And autopsy tools are not like, for the most part, autopsy tools aren't job specific, right? Autopsy tools are like clamps, Dremel tools. Like, these are things that he could have been the contractor and he would have had access to the same tools.
The other thing that bothered me in this scene is that the actual coroner came in with like a giant medical bag. Yeah. Like he's a doctor that makes house calls and has to bring all his equipment with him. No, they supply you with the equipment you need at the morgue. You don't have to bring your own scalpels.
So I can give you something on that one at least, because, keeping in mind that it was 1980 or whatever it was. They don't refer to them as coroners. They refer to them as medical examiners, which potentially means that they had to go to the scene of the crime and assess it first. So he may have actually needed to transport some tools with him to the scene of the crime. But again, this is going to be one of those movies where we inject logic where no one else wanted to at all. The coked up medical examiner just had to be on the scene of the crime. And that's why he had a bag with him. Yeah. All right. I mean, I guess we'll go with that.
It's where he stores his cocaine.
Yeah.
That's what he brought with him.
And you'll notice that the bag was empty by the time we got to the scene.
That guy's either doing a lot of coke or he loves powdered donuts.
Yeah. So this is where we're at. This is what we've established. The guy survived this accident, has become completely deformed for no particular reason, has become a bloody murderer for no particular reason, and now we have our young kids driving themselves into peril. We don't get a ton of explanation as to who they are. We don't get a ton of explanation as to why they're doing what they're about to do. There's no, like, it's a challenge. There's no, we spend every summer here. There's again, no exposition at all. just that shitty song again and some people driving towards this asylum for reasons that aren't entirely clear, I don't think.
And it's the same exact shot of the kid in the Mustang as it was of Mitch and Judy.
Yeah.
Just, different people, different time.
Yep.
Yeah. And the credits that play in between the first three deaths and what we're about to see now, everything, they give us a lot of interior and exterior shots of the asylum.
Yes.
We also get a random shot of a house for some reason. I don't know why, but it's there. The only thing that's telling us that this is the same place where Mitch killed those people is there's a very, very quick shot of a sign that says autopsy room.
Right.
Other than that, we're just led to believe it's the same place. But with some of these shots, they're making it very obvious this is an asylum. We get the laughter, we get, weird noises. So why would Mitch, after a car accident, have been taken to an asylum to have the autopsy done?
I'd like to do you one better. We've had a 10-year period where 10 years ago, there was 2 murders inside of this asylum.
Right.
And now the entire asylum is abandoned and run down. Why? I know you don't want it to happen, but if there's one place that crazy people are going to do crazy things and you might expect it, it would be at the asylum. Right. There was no reason for those 2 murders to condemn the building to death after that, because it has to have been run down for at least 8 of those 10 years for it to look the way it does now. So I don't know why we're here. I don't know why Mitch was here. I don't know why these kids are going here. No exposition.
Because I was assuming we were in a hospital or right. At least a county building.
Yeah. No.
So, but I think the only answer here is that if you say Doom Hospital,
right,
or Doom, Coroner County Office, it doesn't play out the same way.
Doom Parks and Rec.
So, yeah. It's and I was thinking about this. So many of the movies that we watch that have a time jump are always at the minimum 10 years. And I'm just kind of like, why is that? It's never an odd number, 7, 8, 9 years later. It's always at least a decade that has passed. And the only thing that I could come to figure out is we don't want to age our characters too much. If there's a kid, we don't want the kid to be too old. We want that kid now to either be in their late teens or early 20s. But the same thing can happen with 9 years, 11 years. But we always just say 10 years have passed.
So I feel like almost the opposite of what you're saying, but along the same lines. I feel like a 10-year span is just the right amount of time to explain why, and they don't do it in this movie necessarily, but to explain why the person you saw at the beginning no longer looks like that person because it's
right.
been a decade, but also they haven't aged way past that either. It's just the right window of time to write off switching actors.
Yeah.
Like 10 years ago it was a kid and now it's a high school student, so you're not going to expect them to look like the same person anymore. So now we can swap out actors and we can move the plot. But yeah, it's always a decade. It's always an easy, smooth amount of years. Because I guess that's the appropriate amount of time for grieving to have happened and everybody to have settled down a little bit from whatever the incident was that happened 10 years ago.
Or sometimes people need time to forget.
Yeah.
So they don't take the threat as seriously.
Right. To write it off as urban legend.
Yeah. Do you remember when that maniac was here and killed everyone?
That was a decade ago. That's not going to happen
10
again.
years ago. Come on.
It's literally a different century. What are you worried about? So our whole trip towards this asylum, again, we're not given any real reason why, but they get there. They get to where they're headed. And like you said, they blow past the do not enter signs that are very ominous. And we have the sort of cliched the kids are walking into a dangerous, doomed situation,
Right.
but they're having fun scaring each other in the meantime to disarm themselves from when the real killer is around, because they were already playing pranks on each other anyway. They clearly don't really believe that this story about this coroner who killed everyone with medical devices is real. And again, they're scaring each other with it. And this is it. Now they've arrived at where they want to be. But they do at this point, they took the time to give you a little bit of plot. And we learn, I think, that one of the girls on this trip is the daughter of the person that was in the car accident that said, we're going to get rid of the kid and throw the kid aside while we go to Palm Springs, which leads to a wildly unfucking comfortable scene
God.
where she asks if she can call her boyfriend mother, and he agrees to it. And I don't know what the fuck was happening there. I don't know what the thought process was in any way, and it comes up again later and makes it even fucking creepier.
Yeah. It was weird, and here's the problem with it though. If someone else says this, they may be able to say it as a joke. I can't tell if she's joking because she's a terrible actress here. And again, I feel bad for saying that because she's Frankenhooker. But in this movie, she is terrible. She starts out with a New York accent and it disappears for most of the movie, but on occasion does come back. Yet all of them are from New York and no one else talks like they're from New York.
She gets super Edith Bunker for a little bit and then just completely abandons it altogether.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
And when she is on the side of the road, she just looks down, very first place she looks, and there's her mother's mirror. We've established it's 10 years later.
Yep.
The Earth should have reclaimed this. Like, you just can't walk up and find an object laying on the ground 10 years later.
Especially not since it's clear that the land has been maintained. Like if it was giant overgrown grass, like 10 years worth of foliage and she tripped on it, okay, maybe. But this has clearly been tended to grass over and over and over again for 10 years. No, there's not a mirror there anymore.
And we're reminded that the death was 10 years ago because Kiki and I forget all these assholes' names. Mike. Kiki and Mike are having that weird conversation where Mike is now the mother and everybody gets impatient. I think Darnell's like, come on, assholes, let's go. Jane goes, she died 10 years ago. And then Dennis is just like, I'm hungry.
Right.
So wrapped up in their own shit that obviously your friend might be going through something right now. And all you want to do is get to the abandoned asylum. You don't have anywhere to go. You have nothing to do. It doesn't matter what time you get there. It's clearly only a couple of blocks away. Why are they acting like this?
Also, not for nothing, and maybe they worked this in and I didn't realize it, but we know that that's her mother. She knows that that's her mother. But also I feel like she was completely unaware that it's her father. Well, it's her mother's boyfriend.
Yes.
That is tied to this urban legend. Like,
yeah.
Like how I can't imagine.
I didn't think of that because I was so pissed off at everything else. But you are 100% correct. She should be saying, guys, that was going to be my stepdad.
Right.
You know, so she should know that not only is this where her mother died, they're taking her to the place where her soon-to-be stepfather killed 2 people.
Yeah, but no,
So if
it doesn't.
anyone
It
should
doesn't come
have
up.
knowledge about this, it should be her.
Right.
But there were so many, and this is just a me thing for some of it. I don't think anyone else in the world is going to be upset by it.
Baseball cards.
Yes, but first we know who Darnell is though because he has a giant necklace with his name on it. So I
MC
guess
Darnell.
if he forgets who his name is, uh, so and then we have Jane who's a nerd, so she has to wear her glasses with a sweater around her neck, and they go one better here. She's bringing books with her.
Right.
And Egghead likes her, bookie book. But they're going to sunbathe on a picnic.
Yeah.
None of that shit is needed. But then Dennis with his baseball cards. Nobody does this.
No.
He isn't opening packs to see what he got. He just brought a pile of loose baseball cards. They're from 1986. They're all 1986 tops. And he's going through these cards like he's never seen them before.
Hoping to find a Willie McCovey, if I remember right.
Yes. Who he should know retired over a decade ago. So he just, and I know some people would like keep their favorite baseball card in their wallet or carry one, and that's fine. I get,
Sure.
You can treat your cards however you want to.
Yeah.
I get upset when people damage them, but that's just me. But you just don't carry a small pile of baseball cards with you and constantly take them out and look at them like you've never seen them before all day long. It's not what someone does. The only thing that I can excuse this is that he's a Mets fan, so of course he's going to do stupid things. That's the explanation.
Yeah, but that was prime time for the Mets, wasn't it?
Yes.
The mid to late
And
80s.
I don't want to mention it now, but there is something that he says, and I'm just like, look in the fucking mirror, dude. Look in the fucking mirror. Yeah.
All right. They had to do all of this, like what you're describing.
Yeah.
Because perhaps the director quickly came to the conclusion that nobody in this fucking movie can act. So if I want you to believe that she's a nerd, I got to put her in a sweater and glasses.
Yeah.
If I want you to believe he's a dork, he's got to be thumbing through baseball cards, because there's no way for me to hope that these people will convey that just with their actions and their words.
You've solved the mystery. I mean, that is really what it is. At least the director, even, he's made movies. They're not great movies by, he's not going to win any awards here, but he's accomplished things. So that's all well and fine. He does then seem to at least be a very good judge of talent, and he knows he doesn't have any. So yeah,
right.
That's the takeaway here.
So we're done with our little fun picnic. We have defined who everyone is and what their role, what their stereotype is for the rest of the movie. And then we get in the car and we head the rest of the way to the Doom Asylum. And when we get there, Josie and the Pussycats are somewhere in the confines rocking out.
Yeah.
And it's worse than the Rising Sun song at the beginning. And all of our new arrivals hate this music, so they want to find a way to cut it out. Now,
did you say music?
Well, I have to label it something. Cat crawling isn't going to be enough for this. It was music in the sense that there were instruments on the screen that were moving.
Yes.
So Darnell's going to figure it out and straighten this all out with them. Because he recognizes them as being Tina and the Tots?
I think he's the only one that's aware of who they are.
Okay.
Or like he knows like a band goes here, but I don't think he's ever actually seen them before. Because if he has, then he would already know who the drummer was. But so he probably just knows more about them than they do.
Which is okay, fine. So he goes And what he does is unplug one singular plug, and that ruins the entire band's ability to perform.
Yeah. And they can't plug it back in.
Nope.
It just, and I do things like, when you unplug the toaster, sparks fly out of it.
Yeah.
If you have to unplug your computer,
like
sparks fly out of it. Anything you unplug, sparks just always fly.
You know how things overload when you remove the thing that would overload them from it, right?
And if you haven't seen this movie, the only way that I can think to describe what you are listening to is that somebody took an Atari Teenage Riot vinyl and was able to get it to continue to play even while the vinyl was melting. That's the noise that they were producing. There were no lyrics. They weren't even screams. There was just this weird noise coming out of Tina's mouth. Godiva is the drummer. Now, this band is, presents themselves as like, metal. And she is using drum mallets that soften the playing of her drums. So they don't even have the proper equipment or they're not even doing the proper things to produce the noise we're hearing. Like, we couldn't just find 2 real drumsticks.
Also, I'm not sure how familiar you are with musical instruments, but something I can tell you beyond the shadow of a doubt is that for the most part, drums don't require electricity. So there was no reason for her to have to stop playing when everything else got unplugged.
And I thought about it, like when this scene was over and I realized we don't have a guitar or bass.
Nope.
And then I was like, did I hear a guitar or bass?
Yep.
And I went, I don't fucking care. And like, because for me to answer this question, I'd have to go back and listen to it again. And I wasn't going to do that.
No, that's very smart. That's very smart.
Yeah. And I know we touched on it again. Why is there power? Why is this place powered?
This abandoned building.
Yeah. It's so they can smell like hot dogs, I guess, until Mr. Burns cuts the electricity.
I suppose. So, but during this scene, during Darnell's unplugging scene, you can kind of see that him and the drummer maybe lock eyes for a moment or two. Very romantic during this time. But then Darnell kind of takes off, having solved the issue of the howling cats in the background.
Yeah, I did think that was funny though. The running in the field to each other. that okay, I'll give him credit for that because I wouldn't be expecting that there. And it's just a reminder to tell me to shut up and stop complaining.
Right.
Kind of, because this is not a serious movie.
They're saying to you, we don't care about this movie. Why should you?
Yes, exactly.
So the girls are ticked, and rather than what I would assume is the obvious thing of picking up that plug and putting it back into the wall and going back to what they were doing, they decide they want to get revenge. And the way that they want to get revenge, obviously, is by filling a condom from a water kettle that is just hanging out on the rooftop of the asylum. I think I got that all right, didn't I?
You said words that described what happened, exactly how it happened, and it still doesn't make sense.
Yeah, okay.
What else doesn't make sense, though, is that if there is a killer in this building, that killer is allowing them to live and continue to make those noises.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, if you are killing people, these are 3 people that you should go to kill so you don't have to hear it anymore.
Yes, and this is most certainly not the first time that they played this music here.
No.
So there's been an extended period of time where Mitch is just living here, listening to the music and putting up with it.
Yeah.
And I don't even want to get into the entire, like, while we know that his story about the coroners, about the medical examiners has become urban legend, we're not aware of any other killings that he's done. We're not aware of how he's eating. We're not
No.
aware of much of anything that he's up
Yeah.
to for the last 10 years, except for hanging out and listening to this band play their music.
I made a list of questions, and you just got one. Like, where does he get his food from? In the car ride there, though, they do mention like campers, kids that got away, and talked about it, and then the guy in the sewer. They said so. There are people associated with the urban legend, but there's no factual information,
Right.
such as a newspaper article or news report or anything along those lines.
Right. They're just giving you more of the legend.
Yes.
So none of those things necessarily ever happened, with the
Right.
exception of the first 2 deaths, which went unsolved, I would assume, except that the guy who committed the murders never left.
Yeah.
And even if he had left, the cops who would investigate would have shown up there and said, I noticed there's these 2 dead medical examiners, and the body that was checked in doesn't appear to be there any longer. We should pursue that fact. And they didn't.
Just say it's a zombie, and I'm going to go home and eat a sandwich.
I'll stay here and eat it. Everybody else eats here.
Yeah. The coroner didn't finish his.
Left it behind for us, I suppose. So now we're having a picnic. We're getting back to this calling Keith calling
Yeah.
calling him mom, which is just weirder every time it happens.
And it's not only weird because it happened, it's weird the way it happened, because she just goes, Mom, yes, Kiki, give me a kiss. And I sat here just trying to process it, and I just went, fuck it. And my note was, I don't have the time or energy needed to talk about how fucked up this is.
Yeah.
And again, is it a joke? I can't tell because you can't act.
I don't believe it is, strictly because of something that happens even a little bit later in the movie.
Yes.
But while they're all hanging out, they start getting bombed by the water balloon condoms. And unfortunately, they ruin some of the baseball cards. Soak them right through.
It's 86 tops. Tops already ruined them when they printed them. There's no loss here.
But at the time, they didn't know that.
No, at the time, there was a couple of cards that were worth $1.
So now we could see there's a little adversarial pranking going on, I suppose. Let's call it that. However, this is again, I keep wanting to call him Keith. Keith is his name, right? No. Yeah.
Which one?
The mom boyfriend. The boyfriend that's being called
Brian?
Mom. Brian. Okay. Yeah. Keith, Brian. It's the same thing.
Brian. Mike.
Everybody's so forgettable.
His name's and his name's Mike. And like, I watched this earlier in the week, and then I watched it again today, and I still can't remember their names. Yes, but the guy's name is Mike.
So Mike
make a decision to save his life, but
Mike,
the guy's name is Mike.
Mike picks up one of the empty condoms and insinuates that he'd like to take his girlfriend there, Kiki, and maybe put the condom through its paces. And she basically says, I can't, you're my mother.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening here with this subplot, and I don't know how they're going to work their way out of it, to be honest with you. I don't know how you end that line of thinking.
Yeah, because she says, but Mom, that's incest.
Oh, right.
Yes, yeah. That it reminds me, like, I I'm not. If you like Game of Thrones, that's fine. I never got into it. I don't, it just wasn't for me. I get that people like it. But the problem is with Game of Thrones is that anybody that would talk to me that I didn't want to talk to constantly would say, dude, you watch Game of Thrones? And I got tired of answering this question. So I just started saying, I'm not into incest. And that would shut them up because I didn't want to talk about it. And I'm in GameStop one day, and the GameStop employee, for whatever reason, asked me if I watch Game of Thrones. And I went with my shut up line. And I went, I don't like incest. And his response was, that's what makes it so good. So, yeah.
I never went to that GameStop again.
No, it's closed like all the other ones. But yeah, it's just we don't need these jokes that aren't jokes. If you're gonna put them in, then there has to be a playful banter with it, and there's not.
I I mean, honestly, if we had the greatest actors and actresses in the world involved in this movie, this particular subplot still would never work. Like
No,
it would absolutely, it would work as a one-off at one point in time
right.
as a throwaway in the middle of the movie, but to keep coming back to it is in fucking sane to me.
Especially with the two characters that would be committing the non-incest incest. It has to be Darnell or Dennis or Jane giving them shit. Like, if you're gonna make
Right.
this joke, it has to come from a third party that's ribbing you. Otherwise, when you're doing it constantly, it's kind of like, well, what's truly behind your words here? What are you really getting at? What did you wish had happened before she died? Type of thing. And it's creepy and it's weird.
And again, there's zero exposition in this movie
Yeah,
except that they decided to latch on to the fact that she knew that that was her mom that was dead at the scene of that crime, and she misses her mom. And that's fine, and that's such a
right.
tiny little piece of exposition that you need to give us to let us know that that's her daughter, because that's supposed to set up some extra
Yeah,
stakes, even though it never really does. um but to just keep harping on this incest thing is really, really weird, because they don't harp on anything else. They don't,
no,
again, they don't tell you why they're there. They don't tell you why Mitch is there. They don't tell you nothing except that maybe these people are playfully suggesting incest to each other.
yeah.
Just
And
some,
even then,
I may have committed some light incest.
if you're as old as they are and you pick up a condom off the ground and say, maybe we use this.
Right.
No, you're never gonna have to need another condom again with that particular person for as long as you live.
I mean, it was rinsed
It's
out, so it should be
yeah.
okay.
And the other thing is, like, these girls don't seem like the type of girls that use condoms. Like, they're almost feral in a way. It doesn't seem like they'd have a bunch of them on them at any moment. The one thing though, as far as exposition is concerned, Mitch, the coroner, is kind of lurking in the field. He looks over and he brings out a newspaper article, and it says, it's a picture of Judy. It says, coal miner's daughter wins millions. I don't know why we need to know that she's a coal miner's daughter. It doesn't mean anything, but it is telling us that, oh, the daughter looks just like the mom, uh, kind of thing. I don't know where he got this article from, but he does have it. The impressive part, the date on the article is July 1977. So 10 years later would be 1987, which means we can have 1986 Topps cards in this movie.
They did it perfectly.
Yeah,
The one thing they got
they
right was the
they
chronology.
nailed it. Yeah. Now, the other thing with these condom balloons, and this is going back to Fatal Games, when the guy delivering the money is peeping on the girls in the shower, and his punishment is that he has to join them. Um, the punishment for unplugging their power is that on a warm summer's day, while they're sunbathing, they get a little bit wet to cool down. The next thing that happens is Tina takes off her top and says, "Take these motherfuckers." So if the punishment is Tina takes off her shirt and you all get to cool down a little and you don't have to hear the music, why would you never unplug that music every time you hear it?
I get what you're saying, and at the same time, this is a normal America where a prank
Yeah.
is just a light, gentle prank,
Yeah.
and not like we dumped acid on him because it thought it would be funny. So I get what you're saying. Like, this is not all of that invasive or anything like that.
No.
But that's what a prank is supposed to be.
Yes.
Just a little lighthearted fun. Hey, we didn't expect water balloons, and here we are. We'll live, but you've inconvenienced us for 5 minutes.
Yeah. You're not licking quarts of ice cream and putting them back in the freezer for someone else to buy.
Right.
Yeah.
So Darnell goes back to look for our drummer again, and this kicks off the whole part of the movie that matters, which is the string of bags that's about to come up. And firstly, we get Darnell sort of walking through the hallways, and he hears a lot of like rhythmic banging on pipes and things like that, like as if he's listening to a drummer drum. And so he decides to turn around and start rapping. And as he's rapping, he gets clamps put around his head and cranked down until his head bleeds out and he dies. This was fantastic. This was absolutely fantastic. That was the choice of death there. I get that we have to stick with using these particular set of tools. I enjoyed this kill quite a bit. It was filmed well. There was enough blood to make it make sense, and they used clamps. So I can't complain about this singular moment in the movie whatsoever, except that then our killer, Mitch, the coroner, then explains that he just doesn't like rap music. Now, first of all, I don't necessarily need my killer to be a sarcastic wise ass. Second of all, did he like that other music that the girls were playing for the last 10 years?
Yeah, and that's what I was like, he should have killed them.
And thirdly, if we're of the assumption that this place is sort of an off-limits urban legend place, right? The band of girls aside, this can't be the first group of people who ever showed up there.
Right.
Why is he suddenly on the hunt now? We don't know. Except that he wants to kill the one black guy in the movie, which for horror movies at this time was par for the course. Yeah.
And the worst part about this scene to me, and I actually did feel bad for a fictional character, he thought it was Godiva that did it. So like he thinks he's has like a little bit of a love connection. He wants to talk to her, she wants to talk to him. He's got his back turned, and for whatever reason he thinks it's her.
And it was not, as it turns out.
It was not.
It was not. It was the clamps.
The clamps.
We cut away to Rapunzel, and she's gonna go spray paint revolutionary slogans on the walls because she's punk. And she goes into the men's bathroom, and Mitch is there washing his hands in acid, which I found hilarious.
I thought he was just washing his hands in the sink, and the acid was in the one next to it.
Either one of us could be right, but the way it was set up to me was that he was actually scrubbing his hands in the acid, which just struck me as incredibly clever and funny that this, whatever he is, can't just use regular soap and water. He's got to use caustic acid to clean up his hands.
To me, the fact that he was even cleaning up was hilarious.
That's true too.
Like that. So no matter what it was, the fact that he's doing it in the condition that he's in is funny.
Yeah. And so he hears Rapunzel making her way in, so he hides in the stall. And she starts spray painting the stalls, and and then she goes and she hears the toilet flush, and she figures it's Tina in there. And maybe we can do another podcast on what a fucking weirdo Tina is in this movie. And that's saying a lot considering how much weirdo-ness is in this movie. She was the most aggravatingly annoying weirdo in this movie by far, and I'm including the killer in this list.
I actually hated Rapunzel the most.
Oh, okay. I hated Tina far more.
Well, yes. At least Tina, I was like, she's kind of got the something about Mary hairdo, so it's a little funny. Um, but I found Rapunzel just so annoying. But what her final words were did make her character funny. I mean, she's out in the hall going, "The people united will never be defeated," over and over again, spray painting slogans on walls that no one will ever read. It's like today's version of somebody just typing their opinions online, and the only other people that read it are assholes who already have their minds made up. So you're just word vomiting, or in this case, spray paint vomiting shit that no one will see. And for all of your good intentions, you will never make an impact. The only person you're impacting is the person next to you that finds you insufferable.
Right. And fortunately, she has decided to take her political views directly to an abandoned asylum where no one's ever going to see them anyway. So
that's how things used to be.
Yeah.
You'd have a crazy uncle or some weirdo down the block, and the only people that have to listen to them were people that would get stuck listening to them and wanted to leave as quickly as possible.
So we find out that in fact it is Mitch hiding in the stall. Comes out, starts strangling her, and dunks her into the acid pool, which dissolves her flesh, but not her glasses, which is fortunate so that her dead skull can still see.
Yeah. Like, just fuck up the glasses or something,
Lose them. Just lose them.
Set them on fire.
Let them have fallen into the pool.
Yeah. And right. Go ahead.
I was going to say, again, a pretty strong kill considering what we're working with here.
Yes. Yeah, the special effects on this one aren't as good, but what are we really hoping to get out of this with the budget that we know this movie has? So This is at the very least acceptable.
Yeah.
I did like right before she died, and she even as she's getting attacked, she's spewing nonsense about violence, bringing on more violence type of thing. And her final words is, "I'm a Republican. I voted for Reagan."
Yeah.
Which I think the director or the writer just knows someone like this and knows that they're a piece of fake shit. So this was how they made themselves feel better about having to talk to this person.
So anyway, so she's dead.
Yeah.
And that's the point of the story there. We get Mitch heading back to his place, and he's got a little shrine in his little quarters there that have Judy's hand kind of on display in the shrine, which is very touching. Why hasn't it decayed in the last 10 years? Why does the hand look pretty much exactly the way it looked when he picked it up? And who picked it up? How did the hand get back there in the first place?
We live one state over, so we know the humidity has got to be awful. So, it's not like this isn't a good temperate environment that would help preserve the skin.
No.
So no, this should be completely rotted out by now.
And in the first instance in this movie where we get to feel like we're in an asylum, he picks up this disbodied hand and kind of holds it, and he can hear her saying, "Help me," in his head. "Help me, help me, help me." So this is one moment here where I go, oh, so we're in an asylum because he's crazy. I get it. That's it. That's about the extent of why I believe this is an asylum.
Right. And we could make the logical jump that he was in a hospital, and then after he came back and killed people, he was crazy and put in an asylum. But they go out of their way to show us it's the same place.
Right.
They didn't have to do that because we could just accept that that's where he had to go. At this point is when I started getting a lot of questions about Mitch that I was trying just to ignore so I could try to enjoy the movie. Like we talked, where does he get his food from? How has no one found him? Did this place close instantly after his death? Where was he while the place was still open? And even if we just go, okay, this is an asylum, that's where he's always been. When it closed, someone should have noticed that patient 1642 is missing. Where did he go? Do you think he's at the old asylum where people are talking about constantly running into a crazy guy with autopsy tools? It's possible, like it just doesn't make sense. And okay, maybe he went back to his apartment or his house and he grabbed the newspaper article. But how's he, like you said, how's he get the hand? Where does he find that? And like at this point too, I'm starting to wonder, what is he? How did he become the version of the person that we're seeing? Like we said earlier, he was fine for the most part, skin wise, at the accident. Was he actually dead and came back to life? Who's his candle supplier? Because he has a lot of those.
Yep.
And then, like we mentioned before, why is he killing?
Right.
So I don't know whether he's supernatural or just a guy with really bad skin.
We don't necessarily need to think him supernatural for him to survive and do these kills.
Right.
Because he does them with tools and he sneaks up on everyone that he gets. There's no face-to-face fight. No one's aware that they're in a fight. Right. So we don't necessarily have to take him to supernatural, but his entire lore doesn't exist. Like you said, so maybe he went to the hospital first and then was taken to the asylum. Well, that doesn't work because we know about the 2 dead medical examiners, right? So that doesn't work. In fact, the 2 dead medical examiners ruin the entirety of the rest of anything you might go through the line of, right? There is no story that you can trace back and go, but then he killed 2 people that we're aware that were killed, and we're aware that the body is missing from this death scene.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't, that, I guess if that one piece didn't exist, we'd be fine. If he had just gotten up and walked out of the building, snuck out, we'd still have a little bit of a problem of why weren't people looking for this body, but it would be a lot less concerning because there weren't 2 dead people in his wake.
Right. And if there are no new deaths that look like they could be caused by him, how hard are we going to look as time continues to slip? And then I could accept that he's triggered by seeing Kiki. And now
that could work.
Can't handle it. Yeah.
And it also gives us a reason to write off Kiki not realizing where she's going and what has happened there is directly linked to her.
Yep.
Anyway, Godiva realizes that Darnell's been gone for a little while, so she goes out to look for Darnell, and she comes across Rapunzel. And while she's staring at Rapunzel's acid-dripped skull, Mitch gets her with a stethoscope and strangles her. This is a short, sweet death.
Yep.
Catches her quickly, strangles her out. There's nothing she can do. She's a frail little girl, and he's whatever he is.
Yeah.
And chokes her hard enough that the stethoscope cuts her open a little bit because you can see a little blood around her neck. Not like bleeding out blood, but enough blood to, like strangulation marks.
Yeah.
But deeply into her neck. So there goes Godiva. She's dead.
Also, unfortunately, Godiva thinks that Darnell is killing her.
Right. Just like Darnell thought that Godiva was killing her. So, turnabout is fair play, I suppose.
Yeah.
So now everybody's starting to get the hint that people are disappearing. And this is where Jane goes off from the group and winds up in a room with Mitch. And she sees Mitch, but she doesn't believe that what she's seeing is real, which I don't know how she comes to that conclusion. And neither does she, because then she sits down and tries to sort of think through what she has seen here, because I guess she's a psych major, I think is what they're hinting at here.
Her parents are also psychologists.
Right.
So she's constantly talking about how you should think and feel and everything.
Everything. Yeah.
So So she's kind of like, well, this doesn't make sense, so it can't be real type of thing.
So while
she's like, if you're a delusion, get lost.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't got time for this nonsense.
Yeah.
Uh,
And I'm glad she died this way because of how she chose to live. Like she was just annoying with this bullshit this entire movie, and this bullshit is what got her killed in the end.
yeah. So while she's sitting in this chair, Mitch comes out with a Dremel saw and heads right towards her, like head on towards her. Now I understand, first of all, that she thinks perhaps it's a delusion.
Right.
I get that thought, and I also understand that Mitch has his saw plugged in, so I don't know what kind of extension cords he's running around this place, but he can get that power anywhere he needs to in a blink of an eye.
And Darnell's dead, so no one's unplugging it.
Right, exactly. But she remains sitting there till he gets close enough to basically saw her head open. Even if you thought it was a delusion, the minute that saw hit your cheek and you actually felt pain,
Yeah.
you should move.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, psychiatrist or not, you should say, hey, that hurts. I'm not going to take the chance that this is not a delusion. I'm going to move. But no, she gets her head split open by Mitch with the Dremel tool. Again,
Yeah.
solid work here. Even with when he's holding the saw against her cheek, you kind of get like some vibrating skull action.
Yeah.
It was decently well done. I give this is another solid bag here.
I thought this was the best death scene for a few reasons. One, I thought it looked the best, gore and special effects wise. And two, it got her to shut up. So she's been yapping this whole movie about nonsense. And when she dies, he's now cut her cheek open. So she, even if she was alive, she could no longer talk. So I did like the method that they used to kill her based on how her character acted. The only other thing that would have been just as satisfying is if he used an axe and cut off her feet at the ankles so we could remove the socks and the bathing suit look. It's a real weird look. I don't know who does that. Are you familiar with the Funplex?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. But for people that aren't, it's just like your local amusement park. Got your, you play all the games to earn tickets, and there's arcades, and there's a whole bunch of shit to do outside. There's some pools in the lazy river. The last time I was there was a guy going around in the lazy river in a bathing suit and socks, and I'm just like, Jesus Christ, what is wrong with you? Who enjoys that feeling? If I get my socks or even like the cuff of my jeans wet, and maybe that's just a sensory issue for me, but it's one of the worst feelings in the world. And this person is going out of their way to experience that.
Well, at least Jane, on Jane's behalf, the floors were filthy. So yeah. She was wearing the socks as protection.
Or just shoes. I mean, she had her shoes on, flip-flops. Kiki's wearing high heels running through the place.
The shoes got wet from the condom balloons.
Yeah. Just weird.
So Mike has come to the conclusion, for no real good reason, that Tina is the one who sawed Jane's head open.
Yeah, no blood, no weapon. She's just there. Had it been 30 seconds the opposite way, Tina would have thought it was Mike.
I don't know how either of them would come to that conclusion, because in any exchanges that any of them have had up until this point, there was an unplugging of some music and there was a water balloon that was thrown on somebody. The leap to I murdered them with a saw is a huge fucking leap, and I don't know why either of them would have made it. But Mike then hears Kiki screaming and takes off running, presumably to go find Kiki.
Did you say running? Well, I mean, no, it says running there. He does this saunter. He just saunters down the hallway, lazily jogging, going to look for her. But the only reason I think that we might have Mike blame Tina in this case is so he can deliver the line, you're in a lot of trouble, torpedo tits. Like that was hilarious.
I figured it was because every time we see Tina, she has a maniacal laugh. So we
Yes.
assume that she's the villain because that I would have rather heard her sing more than listen to her
Yeah.
every time that she laughed.
It was, and it was over the top.
Yeah.
It wasn't even in appropriate
No, it
situations.
was cartoonishly maniacal
Yeah.
and ear splitting. So obviously, the thing that's going to make sense here, once Mike catches up with Kiki, is that we should go to church and pray. Because for sure, that's what we should be doing.
Yeah.
So we're there praying that everybody, I guess, escapes safely at this point, which we're well past that. And Mitch is in the room, sneaks up on them, and stabs Mike with a needle. Now, at the time, I thought that he had killed Mike with whatever was in the needle. We'll learn later that that is not the case. But I he gets knocked out, and Kiki basically gets captured, right?
Yes. And then she's tied to like an autopsy table.
Right.
Because it does say autopsy room. When I first saw them praying, I thought it was absolutely hilarious that we have Kiki on her knees with her ass cheeks hanging out, asking God for help. And then she goes down the path, like how people do their bargaining. God, I'll, get me out of this. I'll give you anything you want, money, sex,
Right.
and then a charge card at Bloomies.
Yep.
And this is where her accent's back.
Yeah.
We're laying it on thick.
She goes full
when
Edith
she
again.
says all this.
Yeah.
So, and you're offering things to God that, if God is really, he has all of this at his access. I don't know if he has a charge card at Bloomies, but whatever he needs to get from Bloomingdale's, he doesn't need the charge card for it. He's created it. He can just get it.
I'm also not entirely sure that offering up a BJ to God is really an effective trade-off either. But there she was.
You got to try, I guess,
So Kiki
I don't think you usually give money to the person you're blowing. I think the person you're blowing would give the money to you.
Right.
If we're having money and sex exchange in some sort of bartering system.
But you do it on the arm and you hope that they do nice things for you in return. It's no big deal. So we got Mike captured, we got Kiki captured, we got Kiki tied up, and we got Mike sort of tied up but kind of off to the side.
Yeah, he's still incapacitated from the injection he received.
Yep. Mitch starts torturing Mike, which this is the first time he's exhibiting this behavior at all. Everything up until now, more or less, has been a sneak attack and a finishing blow. But now with Mike, he's doing the little, this little piggy went to market, and then he cuts his toe off, which also brings Mike kind of back to life, which is a bad move, I suppose. You don't want to like jar him awake, but then he grabs some shears and cuts off the rest of Mike's toes and kills him, because you know how without toes you can't breathe.
Yeah. I'm assuming he would bleed out, but he bled out entirely too quickly.
Immediately.
I do have a little bit of an idea as to why he was torturing him, but when we're done talking about the movie, I'll mention it then.
Okay. So, as soon as Mike dies, Tina finds everybody, and she's got, I don't know, a baton in her hand. She's got a metal bar of some sort.
Yeah, it was by a radiator.
Yeah.
It was a pipe, and then she, she kind of pried it out and used it as a weapon.
And she has a little lightsaber fight with Mitch having an axe and her having this bar. And Tina knocks him down. Like we're gonna get it. But then Kiki starts kind of struggling, and Tina goes over to help her instead, which I can't think of a dumber move than to take your eyes off the killer. But here we are. She frees Kiki, and then Tina accidentally turns on the mincemeat machine basically is what it is. It's going to carry the body in and crush it. And Tina is stuck on the machine for some reason. We don't.
Yeah. Just stuck.
Just for some reason, right? Like, I felt like she could have just rolled off the conveyor belt.
Stuck meaning if she just chose not to move.
Right.
Yeah, stuck in that way.
So Kiki is struggling to try to figure out how to shut the machine off, and she is unable to. And so Tina gets ground up and then mashed into a cube, I suppose, is what this machine did.
She comes outside as a cube of meat. One thing that's really, really quick is basically her ass bumps into a lever, and there's a plate on that machine that says body processor. You don't really even see the full word body. It's like they couldn't set the camera up properly. Perhaps you could have had a shot of the sign that says body processor and then have Tina enter the screen. But, I'm not directing it. I don't know what a body processor is. I don't know what the point of this machine is. And I understand this is sort of a tongue-in-cheek movie, not too serious, but this is a little too much. The surprise here is that in all these types of movies, when you beat the villain down and you think you've won, once you turn your back, the villain comes back and kills you.
Right.
No, she just fell into a body processing machine and became a cube of meat
because she didn't sit up.
Yeah,
literally,
or just roll off.
Didn't sit up, roll off, whatever it might have been.
Grab the bars.
Sure, that would have been an option.
Anything, or even yell, Kiki, I hit the lever. It's at the beginning of the machine. Put it back the other way. She had plenty of time. Oh, that's something else I forgot. Speaking of having plenty of time, going all the way back to the beginning of the movie, when Mitch and Judy get into the accident, Mitch spends, I feel like, 5 minutes just going, no, multiple shots. He could have come to a complete stop, got out, walked out of the car, and still avoided the accident with how long he was just screaming no. That really bothered me. And then that made me think of this. And we also get weird pig grunts as the machine's on. Yeah. I don't know whether there's pigs inside.
Why would there be?
I mean, why would there be a body processing machine?
I don't know.
It's not a crematorium.
I don't know. Well, a crematorium would have made a modicum of sense because you were in the coroner's room. So there's a potential that after you identify the body and no one comes to claim the body, you may want to dispose of the body. There is a small little window for, I get why there's a crematorium here. There is no comprehensible reason that there is a machine that grinds you up and boxes you up except for your one gloved hand. No, there's no explanation for that whatsoever.
No. Except we wanted to get a cube of meat somehow.
Right. With a gloved hand.
With a spring. The machine just spits out spare springs too, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
So Kiki takes off and Mitch does the old serial killer slow walking thing and hits himself with a little banaka, I guess, for when he catches up with Kiki.
That was great. He adjusts his tie. That's the problem with him, is that he has bad breath and a tie that's not tied properly. That's going to be what she's like, I don't know if I want to be with you.
So as she's running out of the building, Mitch is yelling at her, calling her Judy, and saying, I killed them all for you. Aren't you grateful? We'll come back to that. And she keeps saying, I'm not Judy, I'm Kiki, before she just decides, sure, I'm Judy, figuring that's the safer way to go, which I think is smart.
Yes.
During this chase, Mitch starts crying. And Kiki sees that he's got the article in his hand about her mother. And she's mad at him for wanting to send her to boarding school when they went to Palm Beach. This is the emotional trauma dump that is happening here at this gravesite for 6 of her friends, is
Yes.
you guys were going to send me to boarding school. How dare you?
Not
And
you killed my boyfriend
nope.
and all of my friends.
Well, and mother twice, I suppose,
Yeah,
technically at this
yeah.
point. Uh,
You killed my mother boyfriend.
and there's the mirror again. And she picks up the mirror and she stabs him in the eye because the mirror obviously has a letter opener on the end of it.
Yeah.
And she goes full Edith again as she kills Mitch. And that's the end of the movie. And that's it. That's the end of the movie.
That's the end of the movie. So, yeah.
There are moments in this movie that are quality, and it mostly revolves around the kills themselves, and even to an extent, the way that the people are set up to be killed. Like, it makes a little bit of sense. The entire premise doesn't make sense. The way that he's running after her saying, Judy, I killed them all for you.
Right.
Why? What would have been, again, we weren't given a revenge premise. We weren't given a motivation for him to become a killer. We weren't given anything that would lead up to him killing people on behalf of Judy and avenging her death or whatever it might be. And it just felt like they just didn't care to give you that information.
The only thing that I can take from this is that in between all the killings, Mitch goes back to his, little bedroom area, and he likes to watch some black and white movies.
Yeah.
And really, like, he'll go to kill someone and then sit down, watch a movie for a minute, and get back up and go kill someone else.
Right.
Now, I wasn't familiar with these movies just by recognizing them.
No, there's
Looked
a reason
a little
for
into
that
it. Too. Yeah. These movies were made back in the late 30s. They're by Todd Slaughter. We get two different ones. The first one is called "It's Never Too Late to Mend," and the IMDb synopsis is: an evil prisoner administrator cruelly abuses the inmates at his prison until one day the tables are turned. So that's telling us Mitch is going to die at the end. So if you recognize that movie, you should know that the person inflicting the pain is then going to have pain inflicted upon them. So give them credit for that. The next one is The Face at the Window. Now, this movie was set in France in 1880, and it's about a series of murders that's attributed to a wolf man. And while that doesn't directly correlate to the movie we're watching, what happens in the movie does. Just like in that movie, Mitch has to kill everyone so he can be with Judy and Kiki. So there's in that movie, someone has to kill to try to be with someone else. And there's a line in it that says, Julia, you're not really my daughter. And she says, that wouldn't make any difference. He goes, I might have known you say that, but it makes me happy. So while he's not viewing Kiki as his daughter, she would have been his stepdaughter, and he views her as Judy. So there is like this attraction to her and this wanting to be with her. So that is why I think he took a little bit of extra pleasure torturing Mike, because he would view Mike as being with Judy. So now he wants to inflict more pain upon him than just someone that's hanging out with Judy. So he has to clear everyone out in order to be with her. Now, logically, if there's a girl you like, you just go up to them and you see if they're into you, and maybe you talk instead of killing everyone else that they're with.
Sure.
But in the mindset that he's in, that's the way he goes about trying to get a first date.
I have a feeling that if we took the time to really sit down with these interstitial movies that he puts in here, there may be a whole lot more plot and a whole lot more exposition than we're aware of.
Right.
However, if we have to do that much work to fully comprehend the reasoning of the movie, like not little subtle things, like the actual impulses and impetus for our killer, you fucked up.
Yeah.
As the director and the writer, you have fucked up. I like the idea that he's watching these movies and perhaps in some subconscious way they're tied to his behavior, and each one is either a precursor or an explanation for what you've just seen. But if I have to dig into these movies and read the script and read the details and probably watch the movies, you fucked up. That's all there is to that.
Yes.
Because I need at least to understand the overall thing, and then I watch those movies and go, oh, he put that clever little detail in there. Way to go, pal. That's really a lot smarter than a 1980s horror movie has any right to be. But that's not what's happening here at all.
No. And a lot of times I really enjoy when we get a scene from something in another movie that ties into the movie that we're watching.
Yeah.
But the scene that we're watching, it's short, it's concise, and we can draw the parallel all on our own without even having to know what that other movie is.
Right.
And in those cases, it's a very good tool.
Yeah.
So if you are the 0.00001% of the people that watched Doom Asylum and had already watched these other two movies and watched them enough to be intimately familiar with the plots and what happened and can draw those parallels, great for you.
Awesome.
But other than that, we're just left to be a little bit confused.
A little bit. Yeah, that's very generous of you to use those words.
Yes.
So the other thing about this movie, like, I guess it was a thing at this point in time in the history of horror movies, but did he need to be a sarcastic wise ass? Like, could we have worked this movie without him being a fucking wise ass with each kill that he does?
He did not. And he wasn't even good at it.
No.
And when you said that, we forgot one death. Dennis.
Oh, yeah, Dennis.
Yes. Because
I don't even think did it well. Dennis gets the drill to the skull, right?
Yes, he does.
Before Rapunzel gets killed.
Yes. He's at the picnic and he's got all his cards lined up, and the Wade Boggs cards get lifted by the wind. And good on them, it's actually a Wade Boggs card. So it's real. The big problem I have here is, I've dropped plenty of baseball cards in my life, sometimes outside. The wind never blows them up steps, but that's not even my biggest issue. Is that he's chasing after this card like it's a child. And when he has the opportunity to pick it up, he's doing an announcing scenario where Wade Boggs hits an inside the park home run. And
Wade Boggs, notoriously known for his speed.
Yes. Yeah. So at one point when he's doing this, he then pretends to still be an announcer, and he's talking about a Seattle Mariners pitcher that was busted for cocaine. And I'm just like, how fucking dare you, sir?
You Mets fan, you.
How fucking dare you? Like, the Mets survived on cocaine. Like, I had growing up, I was good friends with a guy. We were on the same baseball team. His dad and him were huge Mets fans. And every chance I got, I gave them shit. I showed up to baseball practice one day in a Mets hat, but I had the Ghostbusters, symbol over it. Like, my mom cut out the felt and sewed it on there for me. And I still remember his dad saw me approaching and was like, oh my God, kind of like he converted. And then when he saw what I did, he was like, God fucking damn it, and threw his own hat on the ground. So, and I would always be like, Hey, did you hear the Mets game was delayed by a half hour today? No, what happened? Gooden and Hernandez kept sniffing up the foul lines. Like, they were all cokeheads. And if they weren't cokeheads, they were assholes. Like Lee Mazzilli, there's a story where he ate the Bat Boys sandwich and he just walked up to him in the clubhouse. He's like, "What are you eating?" He's like, "It's a sandwich." He's like, "What is it?" And he's like, "That sounds awful." He's like, "Well, it's a special dietary sandwich I can, for my condition." He takes a bite and he's like, "That tastes like shit," and throws it down. Like, I think Tim Tuffle, if I remember correctly, was the only decent human being out of the bunch. They were all raging assholes. And that the only Seattle Mariners pitcher of the time that I could find that dealt with cocaine was Rod Scurry, and it happened in December of that year. So this movie would have already been made. So I don't even know what he's talking about, but it just pissed me off so much that he's talking about a Seattle Mariners pitcher getting busted for cocaine when he's got to, check your own house, dude. Um, the other thing that bothered me is he's trying to barter with him, and he's going through his cards like he's going to give him, and he starts naming out all these people, and that's all well and fine. But then it says Wally Joyner. Wally Joyner's rookie card was in 1986, and it wasn't in the regular release. It was in the updates, and the updates have a lighter back. So there is no way he had a Wally Joyner card in there. So for even getting that mixed up, he deserved to die. Um, but it did say he does go, "I really wanted a Mickey Mantle." So perhaps if he had a Mantle, he would not have met his fate.
Right. Um, and just as a point of reference, for Wade Boggs for his entire career had 24 stolen bases. There's no situation where Wade Boggs hits an in the park home run without it being a series of errors.
Yeah, it's got to be a little league homer. There's 5 errors on the play.
Everybody else left the field because they thought the inning was over, and he just jogged around.
Yeah, that's not happening.
So that is the end of that movie, and we will do our standard wrap up for this movie. How do you survive?
The problem most of these have is they don't actually know they're being hunted.
Right, they're getting blitzed.
But Mike, Kiki, and Tina all know.
Yeah.
And they don't choose to leave. Mike and Kiki go to church and then walk around. Tina wants to get revenge. And maybe I can understand Tina, like, you killed my friends, I want to kill you type of situation. She might think that she has the upper hand. And technically she did. She did win. She was just clumsy and then didn't know how to roll.
Right.
So at the end of the day, she did survive the actual killer. She just, a series of unfortunate events afterwards. But other than that, you just have to look like Judy.
Yeah, that's true. That would be your best bet. Dress up like his ex. I don't see a reasonable way to survive because, like you said, it's mostly a blitzkrieg. The only one that I would put this on is Jane, and my response would be when there is someone coming at you with a running saw, regardless of whether you think it's a joke or not, or you think it's a hallucination or not, you get the fuck up and you leave. But other than that, everybody else doesn't really fully understand the scope of what's happening, so there's not a lot of plotting to be done.
And like, how many hallucinations has she had in her life where this is a completely plausible scenario?
Right. So on the other hand, if you're Mitch the coroner, what I don't even want to have this part of the discussion because this is the thing. I don't know what he's trying to accomplish. So I can't give you a better line of attack if I don't understand what the end game is, because I can't build you a constructive idea unless I know, and then he gets, and then he gets the cheese at the end of the maze. What's the maze? Why is he doing this?
Because the thing would be, if the urban legend is true and he has been killing these people this entire time, why doesn't he kill Tina and the Tots?
Right.
So it's almost leading me to believe the urban legend isn't true.
Right. It's just
If
truly
it,
legend.
right. If it is, then he's been doing this well for at least the past 10 years.
So
And
well,
the
in
only
fact,
thing, yeah,
so well, in fact, that you can trace everyone back to this property, but you never go completely out of your way to like totally lock the property down, right?
yeah,
Like if over the course of 10 years, 5 people have gone to this building and then just totally disappeared, you would completely have this building bolted down or
yeah.
torn down at a certain point. Since it's been a decade, you would have it torn down so that you don't have to worry about this anymore. And that just never happened.
Right. Because if you're the owner of the property, like you're on the hook here
Yeah, you
because
don't
you
want that
didn't
juju.
secure it,
Yeah.
and like if you continue to allow these deaths to happen, you're just going to be sued.
Do you think they made the movie they wanted to make?
Here's the thing. I'm going to answer this one differently than I believe I've answered any of them in the past. I don't think they set out to make a movie. Because I think they did this in like 8 days, if I remember correctly. I think they just set out to make a bunch of individual kill scenes and then struggled to try to connect them to make a movie. But I think that's what they did, and that's what we got.
I could actually see that as being the reality of this. That like this the idea of this was to make sort of a portfolio for our special effects people, and then they realized they had enough of them to make an hour and a half of film out of it.
Yeah.
That makes more sense than any other possible way that I could describe what happened here. I again, I don't know if they made the movie they set out to make because I genuinely can't tell you what the plot of this movie is. I genuinely can't tell you what the plot of this movie is. So
Or the motivation of any of the
I
characters.
have no idea if they lived up to the plot because I don't know what the plot was. Would you watch it again?
I I think I've made this clear. I strongly dislike almost every single character in this movie. This movie is poorly written and extremely poorly acted. And the special effects as far as the mask is concerned is subpar at best. But we do get good kill scenes. The story makes no sense. I have no understanding of the killer, how he exists. It At the end of the day, this is a bad movie. It's not one of those, oh, it's so good, it's bad. Like we're gonna sit down, we're gonna laugh and have a good time. But it does deliver the bare minimum of exactly what you would expect or hope to get out of any horror movie you watch. We get 11 deaths, we get a little bit of nudity, but it's all there, but we barely get it. Like even the violence, it's short, it's brief. There's not a lot of drawn out kills. Everything's concise. It's giving us what we expect to get out of a horror movie, but maybe just not in the exact way we'd hope to get it. But I didn't hate watching it. I hated almost every choice they made, but I'd watch this again. Even after all of the complaints, I would still watch this again and I wouldn't be that upset. If I wasn't watching this to have to talk about it, I would enjoy it more than having to talk about it.
I am willing to watch this movie 3 more times. It's it's a hard number. It's a
Yeah.
hard floor. Three more times, because I will continue to be of the opinion for these 3 more reviews that there is more to the subtext in this movie, and there is more to those interstitials that I can extract from it. And maybe I'm only doing it in my head, but I can concoct the full movie out of watching it again and paying attention to the things that aren't happening in the foreground. Um, like you said, it's not offensively bad. It's not annoyingly bad. It's offensively
No.
bad. It's not annoyingly bad. The kill scenes are more than adequate. The killer is not great. But I think with 3 more views, I can understand the scope of what was supposed to be happening in this movie. And then if I don't at that point, then I'm totally done with the movie.
Yeah.
If I can piece it all together, I'd be willing to watch it again after that, because then I could sit there in a more relaxed posture and actually just enjoy this movie instead of going, I feel this whole movie like I kept missing something that was tying some things together. And I went back and I didn't miss anything, but it still feels like there's like a second piece of fabric that hasn't been stitched into this movie that makes it a whole picture. And all I got was like, I got just the left channel of the music, so all I could hear was Jimi Hendrix playing the music, and I couldn't hear his lyrics. So I need to watch it until I can hear the lyrics and the music at the same time.
I do think a lot of people like this movie, and if I put myself in the situation of watching this when it came out at the age I was, I know I would like this so much more, because at that point in time in my life, I'm just happy with getting a horror movie. And that's kind of where I was going with this. It gives us all of those elements. It's just how they deliver it to us is not the best way.
When I was younger, when I was of the age that this stuff would, be directed at me, there wasn't any internet. There wasn't as much global speak. So I understood a lot better how cult classic works. I understood why Evil Dead 2 was a cult classic. I understood why it doesn't work in the theater, but a bunch of kids sitting around on a Friday night laughing at Bruce and watching all these things take place. I totally understand how that becomes a phenomenon in that way. Now that we're doing what we're doing, and we have access to the internet, there are so many movies that become cult classics that I just truly don't understand how they found even 6 people who sat in a room together and went, this is awesome, I would watch it again. And this is on that list. I can definitely see where there's like get-togethers to watch the movie, and they've had, stars appear so they can do a Q&A after the movie. I haven't the foggiest clue why. If you gave me a list, make a list of 100 cult classics that you can have this sort of parameters for, where we watch it and then we do a Q&A, this movie would not breach that 100. It wouldn't come close.
Yeah. And I think I can answer your question. People like to belong.
Sure.
And so here's the thing. If you say, I like Evil Dead, well, yeah, no shit. If you don't, there's a problem. I mean, if you're into movies like this, I get, if somebody, who like, I can't think of a shit movie, the Lake House or whatever, just, if you tell me that's your favorite movie and they go, well, I don't like Evil Dead. Well, of course you don't. Why would you?
Right.
But if you're even remotely close to this genre and you don't like Evil Dead, I can't understand why you wouldn't. So you want to separate yourself from the masses and just be like, well, I like Doom Asylum. Oh, you do? Yes, I do. Oh, wow. Is it good? Yes, it's very good. It's a taste. It might not be for you, but I like it. So it gives you this feeling of belonging by not belonging to the bigger thing. Does that make sense?
This is almost in parallel, if it's not exactly what you're saying. This is irony that becomes reality.
Yes.
This is where you don't understand why this is good. We're too cool for you to understand why this is good. And then enough people say it that now that group is just like, actually, maybe I do like this movie. I don't know what's happening here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely understand that aspect.
And that's not to say that every person if somebody said Doom Asylum is my favorite movie, I'm sure there's a reason. It doesn't necessarily mean that. But I've seen this happen with so many other things. I've heard people talk about Transformers, and yeah, I love the Transformers. You could quiz me on really obscure stuff and I'm going to fail, but I still I know everything that happens. I know what they're about. I know what they do. I had tons of it. But there are people that I know that don't know the first thing about it, but try to pass themselves off as a Transformer fan. And whatever your reasons are, okay, you know. And I think it's just that desire to want to belong and hope no one asks you any questions.
Want to belong, but then also not belong to the mainstream. Like
Yes,
you want to have your cluster of people that only you guys have your secret language that you understand amongst each other. And if
right.
the common people were to pay attention, they wouldn't get it at all.
The Michael Bay movies are far superior than the Generation One cartoons. Like it would be like somebody trying to make that argument that no, they're really good, and Michael Bay did a great job.
It's just a
You
bunch
know,
of people walking around sounding
yeah.
like Bill Maher.
And at the end of the
You
day,
won't
I'm
get it,
happy.
okay?
Yeah, I'm happy I have a Transformers movie, even if they didn't do it the best way possible. Just like I know I'm going to have to watch the new Masters of the Universe movie, but I know it's going to be shit. But I need to watch it because it's Masters of the
It's a
Universe,
thing,
so
yeah.
I have to experience it, and then I can complain about it later. And like, how is Jared Leto still getting work? I have no idea. Like,
Because
and
he was great.
even
He was great in Panic Room, and that has carried him all the way to this point.
yeah, I feel like we're the target audience for Masters of the Universe.
Yeah,
So putting Jared Leto in it,
it's
that
the
that's
opposite of
gonna
that.
make yes, that's gonna make me not want to see the movie.
The bad Joker guy? I don't think so.
Yeah.
All right, so with Doom Asylum, I give you an opportunity to rewrite it and fix it and clean it up. What are you doing?
The very first thing I'm doing is I don't make Mitch and Judy responsible for the accident. So I'm gonna have them just get married or something like that. They're driving to the airport, wherever they're going, and a couple just like them is acting just like them, and they're responsible for the crash. So the other car hits them, they've done nothing wrong. Just like in this movie, Mitch gets hurt and survives, but he's going to be scarred in some way. So we get the issues with the face and hands. But instead of being a palimony attorney, he's the district attorney. And he's going to be the one responsible for prosecuting the couple that killed Judy.
Okay.
He's not in a good place. Due to a technicality, for whatever reason, didn't get read their Miranda rights, however you want to play it out, I don't care. But they are found innocent, even though they are clearly guilty. This sends him off the deep end. He breaks into their house. He's going to pour acid on them, so they can be disfigured too. But their kid walks in, and that distracts him. He didn't know there was a kid or something. He wasn't expecting the kid to be there. That gives the couple a chance to fight. The acid he was going to throw then gets thrown back on Mitch, so now he's even worse, and he just goes into hiding. The kids arrive at the asylum, just like this group of kids do. But this is what's going to cause him to snap, and he starts picking them off one by one until there are only two people left: Kiki, who's his stepdaughter, and the one kid that was the kid that interrupted him to begin with. So he's viewing this as, I'm going to kill this kid now to get revenge on these people. So that's his motivation. His motivation is revenge. Not only revenge for the crash, revenge because they get to live their life, revenge because now he's disfigured when he tried to take justice into his own hands. And then at the end, when Kiki is left, he had no intentions of ever killing her. But he recognizes her now, snaps out of it, and Kiki doesn't kill him. She just leaves him to wallow in his own sorrow.
Okay. Oh, okay. That's a lot of twists on this one. I see where you're going though. I like it. I don't mind that at all. I'm mostly gonna leave this alone. Here's a couple things I'm gonna do though. Little small things just to tweak it a little bit. At the beginning, when we see the car crash, I'm gonna leave the car crash alone, but I'm gonna make it a lot more apparent that his skull, face, brain got mashed during this accident. I not like to a ridiculous point, but to
Right.
a point where, as the movie goes on, you can understand that there was brain damage,
Right.
and he's just not of sound mind. Not that any of this made him seem like of sound mind anyway, but it comes to, he doesn't know where he is. He is in shock. He kills the medical assistants because he's just literally panicking. Like, he doesn't know what's happening at all because he doesn't recall that he was in an accident.
Right.
Kills them, gets away, puts it all together. But in his demented brain, we're going to get almost, from here, we're almost going to get a Frankenstein out of this. He believes he can use that hand to recover Judy, but he needs body parts from other places. And for whatever reason, he decides that the most important thing is to get Kiki's face, because then it can look like Judy again. So he lures them there in whatever particular way he decides to lure them there. And then the rest of this ensues to where he's pretty much just setting it up so that he can isolate Kiki and steal her head. Beyond that, I'm going to leave the movie alone because the campiness of it is important.
Yes.
And all I'm trying to do is paint a little bit of motivation into this for both sides. There's no motivation for Mitch to do what he's doing. There's no motivation for the kids to go to where they go to wind up getting killed. There's no motivation for anything. So I have to use Mitch, and Mitch being short of sound mind, to establish the rest of why we're seeing this happen and what he thinks he can accomplish, whether it's real or not. And other than that, you're going to see the same movie, except it's going to be a little more ridiculous because he's collecting body parts. And then, Kiki thwarts it at the end. However she thwarts it. And she just, trudges along with her one broken leg. And that's the end of the movie, is her just walking down the street with a bloody broken leg, and it's over.
Nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, because you have to keep the campiness in this movie.
Yeah.
Without that, without like the tongue in cheek, without the fun elements to it,
you got nothing.
It's probably unwatchable.
Yeah. It may have been unwatchable with it. So yeah. Definitely. So that's our bloody take on Doom Asylum. If you have a bloody take, let us know. You can find us at all the socials: Instagram, Facebook, Tumblr, Blue Sky, and Twitter. It's One Bloody Take, all one word. We're also on TikTok, _bloody_take. You can find the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Substack by searching out One Bloody Take. Pretty much anywhere you can find a podcast. And we put out a new episode every Wednesday. Join us next week as we discuss 1990's Bad Girls from Mars. I'm Paul.
And I'm Russ.
And thanks for listening to our Bloody Take.